Today I'm going to talk about focus bracketing and using your flash with focus bracketing on your Olympus camera. Okay, so someone asked me a very good question on one of my other videos about focus bracketing, and the question was, can you use flash when you're focus stacking? And short answer is yes, you can. But I just need to kind of explain a couple of things first, because there are some limitations, and we need to talk a little bit about terminology. Basically, focus bracketing and focus stacking are different things, right? Focus bracketing is when you take, say, 10 pictures, and you're focusing at a different point in each picture. Ideally, you're stepping out from the closest point and moving out until you get to the 10th picture, so you're focused to the furthest point. And then focus stacking is the act of taking those 10 pictures, putting them together so that into one picture, so that all the focus points are in focus in a single picture. And a good example would be, say, like the petal of a flower might be in focus when you take a picture, but then the rest of the flower is all blurred out. But you really want the whole flower in focus. So you can achieve that either by, increasing the aperture, but you can achieve that with focus bracketing and stacking, right? And Olympus has, at least the Pen F and the EM10 Mark II, they have focus bracketing, as well as the M5. They have focus bracketing feature built in. And I think the EM1 Mark II I have, it actually does focus stacking in camera too. But let's just talk about focus bracketing, because focus stacking is best done probably in separate software, either Photoshop or I recommended one in my last video called Picolay. So if you want to know more about how to do focus bracketing and everything, and how to do the stacking in software, you should check that video out first. But to use flash with focus bracketing, there are a couple limitations. One is you're going to be limited to 1/120th of a second, and I'll explain why when we get into the camera. Two is going to be you're going to have to use the flash in manual mode. Okay, and then the third one really is, it's not really a limitation, but you're going to be limited by the recycle time of your flash between each picture. So if you're using an Olympus branded flash, you don't have to worry about that as much, because the camera will know when the flash is recycled and is ready to take a picture before it actually does. If you're using a generic flash like this, either off camera or on camera, you're going to have to set the recycle time in the camera to, say, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, depending on the flash. Most flashes, they can recycle to full power in between 5 to 10 seconds. Some are much faster, obviously so, but generally speaking, 5 to 10 seconds is a good rule of thumb. This flash here is about 6 seconds to recycle to full power. But fortunately, you're probably not going to be using full power, and these flashes will recycle almost instantaneously when you're at the minimum power. In this case, this one goes down to 1/128th of a second. So I'm going to do two examples. I'm going to do one with an Olympus brand flash, and then I'm going to do one with a generic flash off camera. And it's very easy. It's not that difficult, but within those limitations, right? So this is an FL something, but this is the little flash that came with the Olympus Pen F. And I've already done a full factory reset on the camera and erased the memory card. But let's go ahead and get this camera ready for focus bracketing. So what I always like to do is start my focus bracketing by marking it with the first picture with my finger pointing at the first focus point. So let me do that. And I'm just an aperture priority, nothing set other than just factory defaults. Okay, and there we have a picture. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put the picture or the camera into bracketing mode, focus bracketing mode. And you do that in shooting menu number 2, right here. We'll turn bracketing on. And the default is to have the auto exposure bracketing, which is the most common type of bracketing. But we're going to go down to focus bracketing and turn it on. But there's more options here, you'll notice, with the little arrow pointing to the right. So we'll go in, and I just know from experience that 9 shots is probably enough for this little communicator here on my table. And I'll set the focus minimum distance down to, say, 2. 1 might do it, but let's just do 2. Then the next option is charge time, and like I said, since I'm using an Olympus brand flash, I don't have to worry about it. It'll know when the flash is recharged before taking the next picture. So I can leave that at 0. So let's turn that on, turn this on, turn this on, okay? Now, if you look at the super control panel, well, if you look at the live view, I can confirm that I'm in bracketing mode because the little bracketing icon is on. And then going into the super control panel, you'll notice that I'm in high speed shutter silent mode now. And that's how the camera does the focus bracketing, is using the high speed silent. And unfortunately, I can't change that. And that's why we're limited to 1/120th of a second as a flash sync. Okay? And you'll also notice, you'll also notice that the flash is limited to manual. So I can turn manual flash on and adjust the power when I'm in silent mode. But I can't change anything else. But in any case, if I were to actually take a picture now, the flash wouldn't fire because there's one more setting I have to do. Okay, it's down here in the anti-shock and silent. And then I need to go all the way down here. And now I have to say flash mode allow. Okay, now I can use the flash. Because look at the super control panel. Now the manual is lit up, right? So that means it's available to me. Off, of course, is available, but that's it. When I try to change options, all I get are manual and off. So let's put it in the manual. And again, since the subject's very, very close to the flash, I'm going to start out with minimum power. In this case would be 1/164th power for the flash. Okay, and we'll just leave everything else the way it is. It's fine. Okay, so let's set our first focusing point. And I'm just going to change to focus point mode on the touchscreen. And we'll set it here. Okay, because I want to start focusing from here and then step out 9 pictures all the way out to the end. Okay, so let's take a picture, and the flash should fire together with the shots. And hopefully you can see that, but the flash is firing now. And it's done. Okay, so let's take a look what we got. The first picture, or I'm sorry, this is the very last picture in the sequence. You can see that this is the first picture with me pointing my finger. Okay, let's go there. So this is the first picture, right? 1/60th of a second at 5.6 with the flash, my finger's pointing. And then the next picture is the first bracketed shot, and this should be the first focus point. So if I zoom in there, you'll notice that's in focus. But as I go further back, like the cover here is not in focus, right up here. But as I rotate, through the pictures here, you'll notice that things start to come into focus all the way out, and now look how sharp that is. Let's see what the next one is, even sharper. And then looks like I went just past a little bit, but that's okay. So I'm happy with that. Basically, it did focus from the very beginning all the way out to the very end of this communicator. So let's turn bracketing off. And just take a picture like this to mark the end of this bracketing series. Okay. So I'll stack those together after this video, but for now I'll just put them up right here for you. This is the completed stacking of those images. Okay, so you can see everything sharp from beginning to end. Now, to do this for off camera, I could just put this flash on top of here. But let's just get a little bit fancier. I'm going to use a very cheap trigger. I paid like $15 for this and a couple of triggers, receivers. And this flash I paid like $25 for, right? This is a NW610-2 Neewer, and these are like some newer branded, although they come in a lot of different brands, both of these, like Mikey, etc. So I got like $40 with the flash triggers and this flash. And this is just my selfie stick that I use a lot of times, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and turn the bracketing back on. I'm sorry, let's take one picture, me pointing, okay? And let me just double check. I have the flash set at 1/128th power. And I'm in aperture priority, auto ISO, etc. Okay, let's just take one picture like this. Just see if we got the exposure right. Wow, that's way too bright, right? So let's go into manual mode. Sorry, I should have done that first, because we do need to change the shutter speed all the way down to a 20th of a second, because we know that's our limit in terms of shutter speed. And then that other picture showed me I was way too bright. So since I can't reduce the power on this anymore, and I'm not going to stand all the way over there, okay, I can just increase the f-stops. Let's try f8 and see how that looks. I will hold the flash a little bit further away. And the other thing is, let's change the ISO to low so we can get the lowest shutter speed as well. Okay, that's more like it. Let's try that. Alright, that's not bad. I think I'll go with that. Maybe just a little bit less on the aperture. Let's try 5.6. Okay, now I'm happy. So let's go into bracketing mode. Well, sorry, let me set the first point here. So I'm marking my bracketing spot, and we'll turn bracketing on, and everything should be the same. 9 shots, 2 steps. But charge time, I do want to change that to say 1 second just to be safe. Even though I'm in minimum power, maybe the batteries are weak and it needs a little more time even to fire the flash at minimum. So I'm going to set that to 1 second. Just double check that my silent mode is on to allow. Okay, good. And I'm in bracketing mode, manual mode, 20th of a second. And I'm going to put the flash in the same position and set the focus point here to start, and start the shutter. Click the shutter. And now the off-camera flash is firing, and we should get 9 shots. Okay, let's just take a quick look. So I'm going to stack those together, you know, after this video, but I'm going to put them up here right now. As you can see, this is the stacked off-camera flash image. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Really, all you have to do is make sure that you're in 1/120th of a second. If you're using Olympus brand flash, you have to be in manual mode, and then just take a couple test shots for exposure. Make sure you got it right. And if you're using off-camera flash, again, 1/120th of a second, do a couple of test shots to make sure the exposure is what you want, and then go back in the bracketing mode and take the pictures just like you would if you didn't have a flash. But let's do a quick shot here, just for fun, of the tricorder. So I'm going to turn off bracketing. Let me go in here, and let's try, because let's say I'm like a intergalactic salesman trying to sell this communicator to Starfleet, right? And I'm not going to send them even those focus stack pictures as nice as they are. I want to send them something a little bit more dramatic, right? So let's just use a simple art filter. We're in manual mode, and the shot that I got before, you know, this exposure's, it's okay, but it's not great. What I want to do is crush the ambient light here around this. This is just a pillowcase that I found kind of, I don't know, back there. But it's not very attractive in of itself. So I'm going to try and hide as much of this as I can and make the tricorder look good, right? So what I can do is, I noticed that at 1/128th of a second, f5.6, right now I'm at -3 stops exposure. So if I were to take a picture, make sure I got the flash off here, this should be very dark, and it is, right? About 3 stops too dark. But I want to go even more because I still see a lot of the pillowcase around the communicator. So let me increase this. F8 will be 1 more stop. F11 will be 2 more stops. So now I'm -5, right? Let's try F16. -6 stops. Really crush this. And since I'm cutting off a lot of light with the aperture, remember before right here was about the right light at 1/128th power, but since I stopped it down down -6 stops, let's try a shot here. Let me put the flash back on. Let's see how that looks. Let's focus here in the center. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. If you have any other questions, I'll do my best to answer them, and if it warrants making another video, I'll do that as well. So hopefully we'll see you again soon.